Hi, this is Tris Haskins from heartratemonitors.co.uk, and this is a new Polar RC3 integrated GPS heart rate monitor watch. As you can see, it's a nice slimline profile. It certainly isn't big, even on a small wrist. I'm just going to whiz you through some of the main functions of the Polar RC3, which I've been using for the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the beauty of the RC3 is the first Polar watch to include an integrated GPS, so it now puts it into the same arena as the Garmin Forerunner products and the Sunto Ambit as an integrated GPS sports watch. The Polar RC3 is a intermediate level heart rate monitor. It's not quite as technical as a Polar RCX3. Sorry, the Polar RCX5. It's more similar to the Polar RCX3, but obviously with integrated GPS. So I'll just run you through a few of the main features. The RC3 has been designed to support 5 sports. And if we go into the sports settings, we can see those sports: running, bike 1, bike 2, other sport 1 and other sport 2. In these windows we can customize what we want to see with regards to the speed, either minutes, mile or miles per hour. Auto lap on, auto lap off, which is a useful function especially when running. And how many training views lines we want to see per screen. We can see either 2 rows or 3 rows. The Polar RC3 gives 7 views while training. Unlike some of the competitors' watches, these 7 views are not configurable, but you do get a good selection of data across all of the views. There's a couple of more advanced options that I would like to see, like average lap pace, that you don't see, but for most people, intermediate level runners, recreational runners and cyclists, they will definitely see all the data that you're interested in. Obviously, being Polar, the heart rate functionality is one of the key features of this watch. And Polar are using their sport zones in the RC3, which is 5 heart rate training zones based on your own personal characteristics and the results of the fitness test. The Polar RC3 can do a 5-minute own optimizer test where you sit down for 5 minutes and the watch will give you a VO2 score somewhere between 30 and 80. And obviously the higher the score, the higher your predicted VO2 max. Therefore, the higher the training zones the watch will prescribe to you. So these are my zones. If you're not happy with the zones you get prescribed, you can enter them manually and tweak them up or tweak them down. You can view your heart rate on the watch real time, either as beats per minute or percentage of maximum heart rate. The zone optimizer is a feature which is useful for people who maybe haven't done too much heart rate training before. At the start of a session, the watch will monitor your heart rate while you pedal slowly or jog slowly for a few minutes, and it just looks at the response of your heart rate to that activity. And after about 2 to 5 minutes, it will pop up and tell you that it's adjusted your sport zones up or down a little bit, depending on how you are on that day. So if you're a bit tired or under the weather, it would have reduced the intensity, or if you're fit and ready to go, it may have made them a little bit more challenging. So it is a useful feature, especially for people who maybe are quite new to heart rate training. There's the fitness test. Very simple, you just put the heart rate belt on, sit down, or lie down actually, press start and wait 5 minutes, and at the end of the 5 minutes the watch will come up and give you a score. There's one I did recently, giving me an own index of 53. I've been using the Polar Own Index for many years, and I have always found it's reflected my personal opinion at that time, and on times when I've been a bit overtrained it has gone down a bit, and at times when I haven't been training it's also gone down, and times when I felt fit coming up to a race it has increased by 2 or 3. Don't expect significant changes though, it is a very subtle test. Okay, let's look at the watch in use. Very simply, just press start. When you press start you then choose your sport. Obviously running, there's my bike 1, and there's other sport 1. I've disabled other sport 2 and bike 2 just so that I don't have so many options on the screen. So I'm going to go to running here now. It's found my heart rate belt and the GPS is already synced, so that took probably 45 seconds at the most to get a good GPS signal. Press start to start the exercise, and now you can toggle through the 7 different screens. Heart rate, stopwatch, pace, distance, zone pointer using the Polar Sport zones and my stopwatch, the lap time, current heart rate, calories burnt, time of day, time spent within the different sport zones. And number 7 is a very useful feature if you're running in an area or cycling area where you're not familiar with the terrain. If you decide you want to get home, you've been running for 5 miles or cycling for 20 miles and you want the shortest route home, just go to screen 7 and it shows you an arrow in a direction of travel back to the starting point and a distance. The large red button on the side, the start button, is also the lap button. Press the lap button briefly and you'll get a summary review of that lap data, average heart rate, average pace, etc., distance. And when you finish your training session, 3 presses on the bottom and it ends the recording and saves it into memory, after which time you'll get a summary of the heart rate data, the speed distance data, etc. Running index is a recognised index of the efficiency of your running. So if you ran 5k in 20 minutes you'd expect that to be quite high, probably 60 plus. If you're running 5k in 30 minutes, it would probably be in the region of 40 minutes. Not too sure on those figures, but running index basically tells you how effective you were at covering a distance in a certain amount of time. It only really comes into place when you are running more than 2 or 3 miles. So for track running or interval running, it doesn't really mean anything. I'll just go finally into some data that I've pulled out of the watch from a couple of real sessions. We'll go to this session here, which was today. One of the nice features on the RC3 is this real English, layperson's terms, telling you what the benefits of that session was. So this session was a tempo session, and you can read the data there on the screen. All this will be put into your polarpersonaltrainer.com training diary as well. And naturally, if I move down, I've got various screens to show me different levels of data: distance, duration, heart rate data, calories, pace information. There's the running index, and time spent within the different polar sports zones. That was a 2-mile warm-up. If I go to then I did a couple of single-mile intervals here, and you can see it's giving me a different description because it recognises it was a different type of training session. As you can see, the heart rate's higher. And my maximal pace is higher as well. No running index because I didn't sustain a steady pace for a long enough period of time.